Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And I got this one coming to you straight out of St. Louis and St. Louis city government and politics. There have been several things that have been taking place down in the city of St. Louis. There's been a ton of issues going on with the city jail. There's been multiple mysterious deaths. The young lady who had a 2-year tenure as the head of the city jail went and disappeared for about 3 or 4 months. And during that time, when nobody knew where she was, there were a couple of other deaths, a female that passed in the city jail and another man that passed, all within a week to 10 days of each other. And once the mayor and the city government were able to catch up with the young lady who ran the jail, the mayor, Tashar Jones, finally fired her, and the interim head of the city jail took that preceding spot. And also now we have issues with the sheriff's department. And all of these things are intertwined with city government, with the jail system, with the safety, the public safety of the jail system and our city courts. And as you all know, we had a couple of year-long issue with the previous St. Louis prosecuting attorney, Kim Gardner. There were all kinds of issues that led all the way across the state, even into the governor's office, and eventually Kim Gardner was removed, and now there is a gentleman named Gabe Gore who has taken the seat of the St. Louis head city prosecutor's office. And of course, during Kim Gardner's tenure, there was a huge backlog of cases that were not presiding before the courts. People were staying in jail for innumerable amounts of time and not getting a court date. And now we have this rumbling with the sheriff's office. And what does the sheriff's office deal with? Well, the sheriff's office protects the courts. The sheriff's office and, of course, the lead sheriff has a direct relationship with the judges and the prosecutors. So the safety of the courts is an issue. The sheriffs are in charge of the safety of the inmates, and they are also in charge of the safety of transportation of inmates. So the sheriff's office plays a huge part in our city government and our city courts, and we're having this rumbling between the outgoing sheriff, Vernon Betts, an older gentleman, and the incoming newly elected sheriff, Alfred Montgomery. Well, this transition is not going smoothly, and as of today, which is January, what is today? January the 7th, Vernon Betts is out and Alfred Montgomery is in. But preceding that, back in December, the incoming sheriff decided that he was going to terminate the majority of the sheriffs that had been there a long time, possibly as a result to their relationship with Vernon Betts. So there is a little turmoil going on with our sheriff's department, which here again goes into issues with our public safety. You would think this transition would be smooth. And when I talk about knowing who our city and state elected officials are, is very important. They play a crucial deal for your safety in the cities that you're in. And there is a lot of chaos and disruption. Just like in the presidential situation where Trump has now won, and through that transition, he has, through his transition to becoming the president and getting into office this year, he had his entire transition team come in, and he's got newly elected individuals, And of course, the Biden administrations and their people will be gone. Well, this new sheriff is doing the same thing. He wants a fresh start, but is there going to be a smooth transition? But let's see what Alfred Montgomery, the incoming sheriff, and Vernon Betts, the outgoing, have been at odds at each other's throats from day one after this election. So let's see what Alfred Montgomery, the new sheriff-elect, is doing. Incoming St. Louis sheriff to fire most of Vernon Betts' senior leaders on day one. The incoming sheriff has notified more than a dozen senior staffers that they will be fired the day he takes office. And so he has already taken office. I'm a little late on getting to the story, but let's follow what's going on, because this can affect everybody. Alfred Montgomery passed out termination letters to at least 13 lieutenants, captains, majors, and colonels serving under Sheriff Vernon Betts about a month and a half ago. In the letter, it says, as you are aware, a new administration will be taking office on January 1st, 2025. This letter serves as an official notice of termination of your employment at the City of St. Louis Sheriff's Office effective January 1, 2025. So for those people, those sheriffs and colonels and lieutenants who have been there for years, their Happy New Year was a termination letter. He said you will receive all final compensation, including any accrued time off, in accordance with the departmental policies. Should you have any questions regarding your final paycheck or benefits, please do not hesitate to contact the office's personnel department. We wish you the very best in your future endeavors and thank you for your service to the sheriff's office. Sincerely, Alfred Montgomery. He says, as you are aware, a new administration will be taking office on January 1st, 2025. The letter reads in part, this letter serves as an official notice of termination of your employment at the City of St. Louis Sheriff's Office, effective January 1. So Happy New Year to those folks. This is only the latest in the contentious relationship between the two. Their interactions have been filled with name-calling, threats, and refusals to transition power since Montgomery edged out Vernon Betts in the Democratic primary in August. Betts said he is disturbed by this move toward employees who have served decades under his leadership. Betts said, who has the audacity to come into this building and start handing out letters to my deputies? Not Montgomery's deputies, Betts said. He has no authority to hand anybody anything, but he has assumed that authority because he's been given that privilege by some of the judges and other folks who are supporting him. Remember, the sheriffs work right in alignment with the judges. There will be more terminations in the coming weeks, Montgomery said. He anticipates retaining 2 senior employees out of nearly 30 leaders. 2. He's getting rid of 90% of these senior leaders. So is this fresh blood coming in, or is this a retaliation for those who worked under Betts? Who knows? But we need a smooth transition to make sure that our downtown St. Louis courts, city jail, and public safety is not at risk. Montgomery said letting the staff know with plenty of time to look for new jobs and use paid time off is a courtesy from the sheriff-elect. We have to move this office forward, he said. We can't risk the threats that we're getting from the current administration as far as destroying property or services before I come into office. He said we can't risk those threats that we're getting from the current administration as far as destroying property or services. Betts rebutted the claims and said he will be leaving Montgomery the keys to the office when he is sworn in on January 1. The sheriff even had a meeting planned with his successor's team on that previous Thursday before January 1 that he will not be attending after today's actions. Now, these people got to go home today and share this information with their wives and husbands and family and all that they're going to be terminated, he said. So many people will be upset. Until then, Betts said he and his team will continue to work for the citizens of St. Louis. We're going to come in here, do our job, do it well, and then get our money and go home. But, with this hanging over their heads, how do you come in and do a job and do it well when you know you're going to be terminated in 28 days? Sheriff-elect Montgomery said he plans on filling the vacancies with seasoned law enforcement veterans from the St. Louis region. I do want to see better from our sheriff's office, he said. If that's what it takes to clean up the office, to add different people and more people into that office, that's what I'm willing to do. And we need fresh blood and or fresh people in these particular positions. And the way things have been going on historically for years in the sheriff's office, Sheriff-elect or not newly elected Sheriff Montgomery says he wants to change that entire dynamic. As we all know, sometimes you can have this situation in city jobs where you get comfortable in your space and you pacify time. You do half of what you're supposed to do to get through the 8 hours of a day or 40 hours of a week. You feel sedentary in that position. That happens in many city, state, and governmental jobs. And maybe the new elected Sheriff Montgomery sees that they need new, fresh folks in there that are going to be vibrant and ready to go to work and work a full 8 hours and do the best that they can, because at the very precipice of what the sheriff's office is supposed to be about is about protecting the public safety of its citizens and also the public safety of the individuals that are being held in jail. They're still people. I think this is unfortunate that an older gentleman now and a black man and you have a younger black guy that are trying to transfer power cannot get along. I think it's an embarrassment. Vernon Betts has been there a long time. Vernon, as a matter of fact, Alfred Montgomery used to work in the sheriff's office under Vernon Betts several years ago, and Vernon fired him. So there's been a tempering and a turmoil that has been going on between these two for years. And I think the last thing that Vernon Betts thought was going to take place was that this young guy, Alfred Montgomery, who had been fired by Vernon, would come back and unseat him in the highest position in the sheriff's office to be the head of the sheriff's department for the city of St. Louis. And it happened. As you hear me say, the unbelievable will become the believable and the unseen will become seen. Just ask Vernon Betts. I don't think he ever thought that Alfred Montgomery would unseat him. So some of this, Vernon Betts may need to look in the mirror on where he has failed himself, his administration, and the people of St. Louis. And hopefully Alfred Montgomery can provide new, fresh folks and a certain vibrancy to this position and for the protection and public safety of all the folks in city government. And we can curtail all this nonsense that's taking place and hopefully get some restoration in the sheriff's office and the protection and public safety of our city jail. Tell me what you think about this new sheriff, Alfred Montgomery.